order, Novi Library 2023. I've got to get used to saying that. And I will ask everyone to join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Mr. Secretary, will please call the roll.
Trustee Crawford?
Here.
Trustee Dooley?
Here.
Trustee Garmurphy?
Here.
Trustee Mitchner?
Present.
Trustee Sturring? Present. Trustee Bartlett is here. Trustee Chair Curry? Almost on time. And Student Representative Kirkpatrick?
Here.
Okay. Very good, everyone. Welcome. Happy to see all these faces here. In spite of the snow and everything, the roads weren't too bad, so happy to see you. We'll ask for approval of the agenda. Everybody got a chance to take a look at the agenda. Are there any corrections or additions to the agenda? Do you want to add the minutes?
I was going to add that when we went to the consent agenda.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes, I'd like to add to the consent agenda the minutes submitted for the board budget meetings on the 12th of January and the 21st of January.
Okay.
So I moved,
Okay,
to,
but we're
approve,
on the-
I moved to approve the agenda with those additions.
Okay, well, we're just approving the regular agenda first.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're going to make that motion to approve the entire agenda, and then we'll go to consent
Okay.
agenda. Okay, you need a second? Second. Priya? Okay. Member Guru Murthy, seconded. And any discussion? No? Okay. Well, please call the roll.
Trustee Dooley?
Yes.
Trustee Garmurphy?
Yes.
Trustee Mitchner?
Yes.
Trustee Sturring?
Yes.
Trustee Bartlett votes yes. Trustee Chair Curry?
Yes.
Trustee Crawford?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, and now the consent agenda, and we had an addition to the consent agenda, and we'll have you make that motion again to
I'd
add.
like to move to approve the consent agenda with the addition of the minutes from the January 12th and the January 21st budget meetings.
Okay, which everyone has at their desk. Okay, is there a second to that motion? Second. Okay. All righty then, and any discussion? Okay, seeing none, please call the roll.
Trustee Garmurphy?
Yes.
Trustee Mitchner?
Yes.
Trustee Sturring?
Yes.
Trustee Bartlett votes yes. Trustee Chair Curry?
Yes.
Trustee Crawford?
Yes.
Trustee Dooley?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, thank you very much. And we'll go to our first audience, or public comment. So in order to hear all citizen comments at a reasonable hour, the library board requests that speakers respect the 3-minute time limit. This is not a question and answer session. However, it's an opportunity to voice your thoughts with the library board, and citizens must state their first, last name, and address. And I see we have someone here, so very good. Go ahead.
Hi, Sharon Trumpy, Novi. I know that there will be a meeting in February, and I'm sure I'll be at it, but since this is the last recorded meeting that Trustee Mitchner will be at, I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank her for her voice all these years. She has always made me feel like my family matters and that all families matter at this library, and I hope that her lasting legacy on this board will be that her current board members and future board members recognize, as she does, that diversity, equity, and inclusion is not just a committee. It's something that should be infused into everything that the library does. So thank you, Tara.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak to the library board? I notice a lot of you are sitting way back there. So I don't know if that's the bad kids that are sitting back there or whatever, but we still see you back there, so, you could move up a little closer. It's okay, we won't. All right, I don't want to embarrass anybody if they would like to speak to us, but we're not really that scary. moving on to reports then, and I will call on Abhi first.
All right, I'll start with our December 2022 student representative report. Starting off with the tween and teen library programs, the STEM Edible Gingerbread House Engineering Program was held on December 6th, where guests had the opportunity to make and decorate their own gingerbread house using graham crackers, frosting, candies, and more supplies. All of these supplies were provided by the library, and we also raffled off a sweet prize. There were 60 people who attended. The Tail Wagging Reading Buddies program for December was held on December 7th, where youth and tweens grades K through 8 had an opportunity in a comfortable and non-judgmental space for a child and their family with the desire to read to a therapy dog to encourage the students' reading skills, confidence, and love for reading. There were 25 people in attendance. Moving on to the Teen Space update, during December 2022, there were 445 guests who visited Teen Space, and there was no Teen Space held on December 14th, 15th, 23rd, or the 26th through the 30th. Now moving on to the TAB update. The TAB meeting was held on December 9th, and this meeting started with a welcome and an icebreaker to help to get to know each other. With this meeting being before winter break, the TAB officers wanted to offer the teens a fun, team-building activity. Therefore, we offered a gingerbread house engineering where the teens had the opportunity to make and decorate their own gingerbread house. And all these supplies were also provided by the library. There were 40 people who attended. Some upcoming programs for February is Eat the World Grab and Go Kit will be on February 11th. Tail Wagging Reading Buddies will be on February 22nd, and Teen Advisory Board will be on February 24th. December's Teen Stop display featured the best young adult fiction books from 2022, and there's a picture that shows some of those below. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I notice a lot of your report always has to do with eating. It seems like there's always food involved, which, makes us hungry, when we hear all the good stuff that you're eating. But we really appreciate your thoroughness. Always, you have a lot to report, and I really appreciate that. You've had really great attendance for all of the things, so thanks for sharing.
President Crawford, could I make a
sure.
notation? Just for Teen Space, I'd just like to note that we're having some really great success with Teen Space, which is the after-school program. As you noticed, the numbers are definitely going up and the space is being used. We are looking at adding a little bit more seating to the space. And at one time, before COVID, it was only the West meeting room that we used. We now use the full meeting room so that there's more space and it gives more opportunity. I just want to thank our teenagers who are coming over after school. They are using the building. We're seeing a lot of students that come over. We appreciate them using spaces, and we're trying to find spaces for them as much as possible. So you might see some numbers going up, knowing that we're going to be adding some additional seats. So just wanted to make you aware of that.
Good.
Thank you.
And Abhi, I might want to ask you too, are you encouraging them all, everybody that comes there, to fill out the survey for strategic planning? I mean, because that would really be helpful to get their input.
We have a date set to go over to the high school during their lunch hour to connect with all the students at one time. So
Oh,
that'll be
that's good.
happening,
Okay.
in February.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. And now, one thing I just want to thank all of you trustees actually for your diligence and for the extra time. I know you have busy lives, so thanks for the extra time put into the budget meetings. I mean, they were really, really critical meetings. So I just want to thank you all for doing that, and also for encouraging others to fill out the survey. That's really important. And moving on, I'm going to ask Trustee Mishner. She has something to share with us, I'm sure. So.
Thank you so much. So I was not at the last budget meeting. I was hoping I could make it, but instead I was actually presenting for United for Libraries, which is a division of the American Library Association, with Claire Mambiella, who is our legal representative at Library of Michigan. And we got to partner and do a presentation on library policies and diversity, equity, and inclusion. I've spoken for them before. I've partnered with Claire before, and I've spoken by myself. But generally what we're doing is we're trying to build up trustees to really take ownership of their role. I've shared before when I started in my trustee position, I didn't understand the weight of it, I'll be honest, or all of the responsibilities and the liability as well. You know, we are responsible for a lot, but there's a lot of risk involved as well. So just understanding what we have under our belt as far as responsibility, but also the people that depend on us. So when we're talking about diverse communities, that's all of us. Everybody does have diversity, you know. Sometimes people are like, well, I'm just white. And it's like, right, but there's no country called white. So where are you from? Like, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the different aspects of who you are as a person. You know, we're all very different. And those differences are good, but we need to make sure as a library system, any library system, that we're able to serve people based on what they need, because libraries are for everybody. They're free public spaces, right? So that's what we talked about a lot when we're creating policies, just making sure we're thinking about people who aren't just like us, you know, and considering, is it easy for them to get in? I talked about how my dad used to be the best dancer, the best basketball player, and even when I think he was like 60 years old, backwards skating at one of my birthday parties, putting us all to shame. But unfortunately, you know, he lost his mobility and he ended up in a wheelchair in the end. So there had to be adjustments made. So our patrons, even when we plan for patrons of today, we have to think maybe that patron, that same patron that we're planning for, might have a different circumstance tomorrow. And are our policies matching to make sure that they're taken care of? I also talked about how policies are living and breathing, right? So yes, it's on paper and we don't always see it. People aren't always going on the computer to find our policies, but they're living them. So when someone's stopping them, that might be part of a policy. When they're asking, can I check this out under Priya's card? She's my friend. That's under a policy. So those are the actions that we see that are written down as well. So are we following those, and how are we following those? Also, procedurally, are we making sure that everybody's getting the same type of treatment? Yes, we're trustees, but we still have to follow the policies as well, right? So, you know, I can't get a free Starbucks coffee just because I'm a trustee and I smile a lot, right? Because we need to make sure that we're following the policies and the procedures as well. So everybody's treated the same. If Kathy was at the cafe and she got a free coffee, and they were like, just this once, just for you, and I heard that, I'd be like, what about me? And then they're like, well, no. Then I have a gripe. But that happens in a lot of places, and maybe in library systems too, right? So we just talked a lot about that. There was a lot of good questions, a lot of good content. Claire talked about some of the legal things that we have to be aware of. We talked about how the library is public, but there are areas in the library that are not public. So remembering our admin offices, the staff break room, you can't just walk in there and get a donut because there's donuts for the staff, right? So just understanding what spaces are free and public and what spaces are not, that type of thing. So that's what I was doing instead of being at the budget meeting, but it was still helping our profession, and I'll continue doing that when I'm done as a trustee here.
Okay. Well, I know that you came in the budget meeting, but unfortunately we were already done, or fortunately we were already done.
Yes,
so,
thank you.
Yeah, you did make it.
I did make it.
You did make it.
There was
You
two
did
people
make
left
it.
that were just chatting, so
Yeah.
I joined in the conversation. Yeah.
So that's good. Well, we appreciate you representing
Thank
the
you.
Novi Library in such a way, so we appreciate that.
Thank
Tara.
you.
So, also, I just want to remind everybody about reading the book Overdue. I'm happy to report I completed reading the book. And it was really interesting. And I'm not sure, is this the first time the library board has ever done a book discussion, which we'll be doing in February? And I know you will see a letter in the back of our packet from our community member, Ms. Trumpy, who actually recommended the book. So we have you to thank, or else to be mad at, for for recommending that book, because it really caused me to do a lot of thinking about things. And, as I was reading that book, I think you all will have something to say about it. It's a quick read, actually. I hope that you all will participate. I have great questions already for you leading the book discussion. So that's coming up in February, so don't let me down here, and make sure you read that book.
President Crawford?
Yes.
Can I interrupt just for a
Sure.
moment? Just to let you know that I do have a typo in B. Should be February 16th, 2023, not 15. So I apologize for that. I just realized.
Oh, so you think we know about the dates?
Yeah,
then.
I'm sorry. I just as I was looking down, I'm like, uh-oh, and I checked my calendar. It is the
Okay.
16th, so my apologies on that.
Okay, no problem, yeah. Don't come on the 15th.
Right.
Okay, and now we'll move on to the treasurer's report. Mr. Chair Curry?
So, expenditures in the 268 fund this month were 311,000. And in the 269 fund, 6503. So kind of a steady state part of our budget. So those numbers are very similar to the prior month. One thing, since we're going through budget, I just learned, and you guys, maybe I don't know if it's educating you guys or not, but Kathy and I were having a discussion. I had noticed that like some of the prior months' numbers were different than the prior packet. And so just to let you know, although we try to close our month here in time for our meetings, if invoices or bills or adjustments come through afterwards, we do adjust prior months rather than racking up a series of subsequent adjustments. So, and the only reason I caught it is because there was actually 2 of them last month, and it was like 15%. So that's kind of the, hey, what's that number kind of thing. So that's about it.
Okay, any questions? All right then, moving on to the director's report.
Just a couple things to point out to you tonight. On page 27, we have a couple employees that we are recognizing in February for anniversaries. Eva Sobolchek, 7 years with us. She is a support services supervisor. And Kim Swiskowski, she's also a support services supervisor at the library. So we wish them well and happy anniversary. I wanted to point out on page 28 that the staff did put together some staff picks for 2022, which these were some favorites to read. So if you have time, these are books that were published or either in the last couple of years that became favorites over the past year to read. So some suggestions. Wanted to put in also on page 29, there was a specific patron point blast that went out for the survey specifically. So you see that on page 29. So that hit all of our card holders, and it was separate from the e-newsletter that normally goes out during the month. Also on page 31, we had a really great article in the Hometown Life paper about the library, and it talked about the survey and the dates for in-person and virtual feedback sessions that are coming up in the future. Other than that, there are just some reports from different departments. The IT department, you don't have a report this month. You'll get one next month, which we'll have, just because we have a new IT department head. Jeffrey Smith has joined us, but he was only just a few days into his job. I wasn't going to put all those statistics on him at one time. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
One thing I wanted to ask about, I noticed in the numbers that we do have a number of patrons who are mailing in their requests for books, and the books are being mailed to them. How many was it this past month again?
It was, and that actually is in there, I believe.
Because that seemed like, I guess I didn't know how many we were going to, I thought it would be a slow start.
Hold on
and it's going to
one
take
sec.
some time for people to realize it. But I think that's something we should point out, that
If you look on page 40, yep. So the MPL at your door bags, so this was our highest month actually for December. And, we're coming on a year, March will be a year. So I think with the winter months coming, people might not want to go out. So we had we had 15 bags, but 62 items that actually went out for the month of December. So the
that's
numbers
pretty
are
good.
going up.
Okay, I was surprised
Yeah.
that there were that many.
Yep.
So I thought that was good. Anybody have any comments or questions for the director? Yes?
Are there any preliminary statistics on responses to the surveys and stuff?
I know that we have received over 1,000 through email, and that was already a couple weeks ago. So Dana's out this week; she returns tomorrow, and I'll have better numbers for you. But so far, I've heard really good, positive things from the people that have received it. I was made aware of a couple glitches on iPads and stuff. We looked into it with our consultant, and it is from the user's end on their piece of equipment. It's not the library, because they did check into it. They checked with SurveyMonkey, and so it might be a setting that someone might have at home to look into. But yeah, so far so good.
And then you guys are doing a good job of marketing it. My only concern is I'm actually seeing multiple offers to fill out the survey. Do we have a way of knowing whether or not I took advantage of it multiple times?
I don't know about that. Yeah, I'll have to find.
One, it's not that interesting, so I don't.
I don't think too many people would want to go through it again. I think we made it long enough where once is enough. I do know also that postcards did hit homes.
Yeah, that
And
was
so
good.
people have received their postcard to remind them to go on and take the survey as well.
Yeah, I think that was really beneficial as a reminder to people. I know I heard a comment from a couple people that I know that, oh, yeah, that reminded me I need to do it. Because we are coming up with a deadline, so we'd like to get those surveys returned and.
It'll
in
be
a
the middle of
timely way.
February, so we still have a few weeks, which is great.
Yeah.
But we're doing good.
I still keep a stack of a few hard copies at home.
Good.
And so people come over and they'll say, well, I don't really go to the library that much. Well, we want to hear from those people.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
we want to know if you don't go, why? Why don't you go?
And I was able to, Trustee Bartlett, I was able to secure a meeting next week just to touch base with our consultants, just to see how we're doing and everything since the holidays are now over. So we have a meeting next week.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments, questions? Okay, moving on to our second public comment. In order to hear all citizen comments at a reasonable hour, the library board requests that speakers respect the 3-minute time limit. This is not a question and answer session, however, it's an opportunity to voice your thoughts with the library board, and citizens must state their first, last name, and address. Anyone wish to speak to the board? Welcome.
Hi, my name is Raj Schlussman, Novi resident. I live on the north end. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay,
Yes.
my voice is always pretty.
If you just sort of lean into the microphone here.
This one here
Yeah,
is-
that's
is that
better.
good? Oh,
That's better.
perfect,
Thank you.
Thank you. I moved to Novi 40 years ago, and I'm from rural Ohio. So one thing that really thrilled me about moving to Detroit was different people. Where I came from, it was like everyone was the same. And so that was an exciting thing to me. And I'm really impressed with the library. When I first moved out here, it was really small. But when I got back to it, because I'm on the north end, it's not as easy. It's incredible. I know there's a couple people leaving, I think. I'm only aware of Tara Mishner leaving, and I really want to thank you for your support of DEI. I think it's really important. Novi has changed a lot. It's changed a lot for the better because we have such a diverse population now, and we have lots of different perspectives. And I think supporting that is a really important thing. And for myself, not part of that process, I still think about it a lot because you do get to meet a lot of different people who come from different places. They have a different outlook or different background from which they draw upon for what they think. And it's like, so you learn more from that. And I'm really grateful to see that the library is embracing that and going forward with it. And thank you for your 8 years. I didn't realize it was 8 years, but I've just recently got involved with board meetings, and I fell off the wagon for a little bit here, but hope to be back more regular in the future. But thank you for your time. It's an effort. It's great. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Hall, and I'm here to say thank you to Tara Mishner.
Thank you.
Because I have 4 girls, and they were introduced to an author and they could see this author. And she autographed their books, your books, and they were like, these books, these characters look like me. And they were like, he's famous. And we can like be here. And my girls were little. They were little when you wrote those books, I think 100%.
100% real.
100% real and summer camp.
Survival.
Is it survival? And they were just like, wow. You know, an author is real. And she looks like me. And I was just like, thank you. Yeah, it's my 4 girls. Now they're all in high school now. And 3 in high school. And I just was like, just wanted to say thank you. I remember that. Thank you. All you do and will continue to do for our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, Library Board, Madam President, good to see you again. I'm very happy to be here tonight. It's not every day that I feel like I stand in that podium and I'm not shaking my fist at somebody, but I'm very happy to be here. And I want to echo a lot of these comments that have been said about thanking Trustee Mishner for her 8 years of service. I think sometimes when we talk about Novi and we talk about what a great community this is, Novi exceptionalism, I think sometimes the way we talk about it, I think we forget that there are a lot of folks, not just residents, our neighbors, but our incredible city staff, Director Farkas and all the folks there, and all of you who give your time to sitting through those budget meetings, which I know has to be like watching paint dry sometimes.
Riveting.
And I know that, you know, a lot of times this can be a thankless job. So I want to thank all of you for giving your time and your service to the city. And Trustee Mishner, I don't know where I can begin with you. I know we've only recently gotten to know each other, but I've been so proud to get to know you and to see the work that you do to champion people and elevate voices that aren't always heard in our processes and in our public spaces. So with that, I just want to thank you for your 8 years of service to the Library Board. And I won't put any pressure on the rest of you, but I will say that there are some shoes to fill. And I know that this board is up to the challenge. And I also want to thank the library for being such a wonderful place for me to gruelingly study for the bar exam over the summer. It became a second home for me. And I can happily report I passed. But thank you to the Novi Library and the staff, everybody there that helped pull me off many cliffs over the summer. So thank you all, and thank you, Trustee Mishner.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, Aaron Martinez, Shorecrest Drive. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Churches, and I find public speaking terrifying, but I had to overcome my fear tonight to thank Tara for all she's done for the community. I love the library, and I just hope that her spirit of diversity will continue with every new member as they continue through the years. But thank you so much for your service, Tara.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, Board. Jason Michener, Novi resident and proud spouse of Tara Michener. I just wanted to come up here and reflect. It's been an amazing 8 years. When Trustee Michener first started with some of you, most of you weren't even there when she started. We were just celebrating our 10th anniversary, and that child in the back was 1 year old, and he fit right here in my arm. And I was just recently watching Beyond Books from when she first started, and I can't believe even what she mentioned tonight was exactly what she was talking about then. She talked about bringing kindness to the library. She talked about how, as an author, all her books celebrate literacy, self-esteem, and diversity. And she talked about recently how her own father, who just unfortunately recently passed, and she just mentioned tonight, had taken to a wheelchair, and that she wanted to make sure that the library is open to all patrons and supported everybody and felt like home to everybody. And it's absolutely amazing that you had such consistency of purpose, that you're talking about the exact same things tonight. And watching at home on a personal note, I know how much time You all must invest. And it was just amazing to see how she just kept digging deeper, not for herself, but for this community and for this library. If she didn't know something, she learned. If she couldn't find an answer, she'd go find somebody that could give her the answer. And then reaching out to Julie, reaching out to other board members, and then reaching out to the Michigan Library, and now, speaking to libraries across the United States. It's absolutely amazing, and the fact that I think some of your biggest accomplishments line up with what you first set out to do, like that you were able to help get a diversity, equity, inclusion committee started and established as a standing committee, that you helped push for Juneteenth to be a paid holiday, just like July 4th, that you were able to, bring kindness to this board. I really feel like the board, these last couple meetings have been a happy place where a lot of productive, really good discussions is happening, and it's just benefiting the library and this community. And I just can't thank you enough, because I feel like the biggest thing you've done is you made our son a reader for life. And he read the 1,000 books before kindergarten when he was like this tall, and he loves coming here. There's so many times, I can't tell you how many times, Julie, when he gets in the car after school and he's like, "Can we please go to the library, Dad? Please, please." I'm like, "We don't have time to." He's, "But come on, I just want to go to the library, please. Come on, I'll do chores and I'll do everything when I get home. Just take me to the library. I'll make sure we do homework as soon as I get home. Just want to check out a few books." And that's all because of you. And if you have even the smallest impact like that with other children here in Novi and in the surrounding communities, then the world is truly a better place for you sitting in that chair behind that desk. And I thank you so much for all that you've done for our community and for our family and for our son. So thank you so much, Tara.
Thank you.
Anyone else? It seems like our audience knows something we don't know, actually. But I'm getting the picture now, at least, right? Okay, moving on with committee reports. Any of the chairmen wish to speak about their meeting? Anybody have something to say?
You can go first.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh, please do, yes.
Okay. So we just recently had our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee meeting. It was on Monday, so there wasn't enough time to get notes into the packet because the packet was already done. So the public will see the notes next month. But just a couple things to highlight. We're really excited that in collaboration with the policy committee, that the collections policy passed unanimously last month. So we kind of talked about that. So thank you, policy committee. And then also in line with that, the staff actually has been working on a DEI scorecard to kind of create some type of measurement and baseline with regards to how the library is doing in diversity, equity, and inclusion. We talked about how, because we're in the middle of strategic planning, we're not going to launch that just yet, because there are things that are involved in strategic planning that might enhance that scorecard. So that's going to be tabled just for now, but we'll be bringing that back later. And then as far as programming goes, we discussed, just how important it is to kind of weave into the fabric of everything that we do, and especially the past couple years, because Trustee Michener, initially started the committee, and then it became a standing committee. There's been a lot of things that have been highlighted in our community due to that work and due to her voice and uplifting others, and I wanted to speak to that tonight while we are up here. So we kind of discussed how to continue that. The idea is, for example, February is coming up. It's African American month, to celebrate it. But it doesn't have to be just a month. We can learn about programs in different communities and different groups in our community all year round. Somebody made comment at my work about that, where all the corporations go to local organizations that support LGBTQ people in June because it's Pride Month. And they're like, well, we also need help in the other months too, So that was something that was brought up, and we kind of talked about that, how, we want to be able to touch and have representation and, have discussions and information and inspiration all year round, which I think the staff works so hard to do. So specifically the DEI lens, though, we kind of said we want to make sure that we still, bring certain things forward for discussion and education, which kind of corresponds into our training. So one of the goals on our trustee committee is for the trustees to take part in 3 trainings, because the staff at Novi Public Library, that's their minimum, but they actually do way more than that throughout the year. In a budget year, about 12 months, they're doing at least 1 training every month. But we thought that we would help guide and give resources to our fellow trustees so that in our budget year, we can do at least 3. And overdue is actually part of that. So you get 1 already checked off. I know that President Crawford's attended a lot already this budget year. So she's probably already done, everybody. So you have some catching up to do.
They can't take credit for what I did.
No, they
Don't
can't.
let them do that.
Everybody has to participate, or that we recommend, and we would appreciate you to do that. So before the end of this budget year, we would like you to do that. Trustee Gurumurthy is actually going to put a Google Sheet together, and we're all going to put resources in there so that you can participate in your own time. But just so you know, overdue will help. That's one of the things that will help you. So thanks, everybody, for your time, and thank you, Trustee Mishner, for all your hard work. It's been a pleasure chairing this committee this budget year, so thank you for allowing me to do that. And that's it for that report.
Okay. Any other chair wish to report? I believe Trustee Mishner has something.
Yep. I do. I have bylaws, but Trustee Dooley, were you going to talk about events marketing too?
We actually haven't met yet, so I wasn't gonna. Oh,
Okay.
but in terms of events
Yes.
that trustees participated, yes. If you'd like to go ahead and
Sure.
talk about it.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, on your committee, I didn't go to the MLK event. I heard fantastic things about it. I had another MLK event to go to that took a lot of the day. But I do know that there was an amazing author there, Naomi, and she is an incredible children's book author. She wrote a book about purpose for kids. It's like sunshine in a book. And I heard a lot of good feedback from many different people, so I just wanted to lift her up publicly in that regard. And then I just also, from an event standpoint, I wanted to lift up Director Farkas for allowing Shannon to come to Deerfield Elementary and to our multicultural night. Priya was there as well. And she just did a great job of representing the library. She's so, amazing. And everybody was just really happy to see her. I saw her pick up a table. I'm like, what's happening? So she's not just standing at a table. She's picking them up. I'm like, I tried to pick it up. She's stronger than me. It's confirmed. But she, seriously. But she just stayed the whole time, helped clean up, just amazing. And I think we have such incredible community members, and we also have incredible staff members at our library that goes to these events, but also recognizing our events committee as well. We can't do it without board members who are making it happen too. So I just wanted to, those were 2 notes I had. That's why I'm like, you want to talk about your stuff? So that's why I said that. I wasn't trying to tell you what to do.
Okay. Any other committee that wish to talk?
Bylaws. Okay.
Okay.
This
Yeah,
isn't as
let's
fun.
hear it.
Sorry, the fun is over. Okay, it's just a little bit more boring, right? But so just to update on bylaws, we have been, so Trustee Stirring, Trustee Bartlett, I'm going to blame Trustee Bartlett for being really good at looking at the small print. He started this, right? Some of it in a good way. It's an encouragement. Trustee Bartlett did notice, and some of you may remember just some discrepancies we had when officers change over. So I made a summary just to keep me focused and also to pass on to all of you with where we're at right now. Our committee has met a couple different times on bylaws as early as we met Tuesday, so our last meeting, and the week before, and we've got more meetings. We're not done yet, but we want to make, at least as we're going through things, we realize we need to bring you all up to speed, especially because that's important. I'm the chair of the committee and I'm leaving soon, right? So Some background. In 2022, Library Board held officer elections twice, back-to-back in both March and April. Both Novi Public Library bylaws and City of Novi Council organization rules and order of business are superseded by and must comply with the state statutes, city charter, and city code of ordinances. Neither document, which is in parentheses, NPL bylaws, city rules and order, has precedence or authority over the other. They only have authority over the organization to which they pertain. So the problem is that our city code of ordinances, as well as our state statutes and city charter, are silent as to the date at which library board members' terms expire. NPL bylaws require new officers to be elected from the appointed and qualified trustees in April. City rules and orders set library board term expiration for March 1st. So this creates a 1-month disconnect where the library board could have vacancies in vice president, secretary, and treasurer officer positions created by outgoing trustees that must be filled by vote in the March library board meeting, yet still hold officer elections the following month in April. So this creates undue churn in the officer roles and burdens the board with redundant procedures. The solution is immediate resolution, amend NPL bylaws to change the annual meeting from April to March. Article 4, Section 2, annual meetings. And then you can also remove all other references to the actual month of the annual meeting in all other locations of the bylaws and simply state annual meeting. This reduces the lapse in vice president, secretary, and treasurer officer positions to the time between March 1st and the March annual meeting. It eliminates having multiple officer elections back-to-back. The robust long-term resolution, City Code of Ordinances, Section 1922, should be updated to include the library board term expiration date of March 1st. This prevents conflicts in timing from ever reoccurring, as ordinances have authority over both NPL bylaws and city rules and order. And just a note, ordinances should also be corrected to reflect that the mayor appoints between 2 to 3 members of the library board of directors, because right now it says that he can only appoint 1, which we know is not what happens and not true. So we want to make sure that's just up to date. Note, office of the president is not impacted in the same way as that position is automatically filled by vice president. The lapse in officer positions could be even less if the trustee is appointed and qualified after March 1st. This is information that I'm sharing. We are still, all 3 of us, working together in meetings as we're going, but we realize you need to have something and at least know what we're talking about. We're not all at consensus with solutions yet, but this is just something for you to think about and also for you to weigh in on. I do have reference sheets and everything for you as well on that. And then there's only one other issue I want to talk about with you that we've also discussed, which is the duty of secretary in minutes. Also brought to us by Brian, noticed that as well. Just want to give credit where credit's due. Been here 8 years, didn't notice it. So the background, in 2022, library staff position that was designated by the director to keep minutes and post notice of library board meetings was vacated and has not been filled. Budget constraints have made it impractical to fill this position to date. The board secretary has been assuming this role since the position was vacated. The problem, NPL bylaws dictate that the director shall, whenever we see shall, it's not maybe, it's shall, assign library staff to minutes and post notices of meetings and do not provide for the secretary of the board to assume these duties on a permanent basis. Current economic conditions and budgetary constraints indicate that the vacant staff position will not be filled either in the short or long term. So the change in who will be taking the meeting minutes has prompted questions of what exactly the meeting minutes need to contain and how they will be posted. So the solution, redefine the duties of secretary in Article 3, and that's Section 6, under officers, so that the secretary is primarily responsible for keeping the minutes and allow for the president to appoint another. Now, I had officer at first, but Trustee Stirring mentioned maybe it could be a member, so I have officer, then have member. Your copy is going to say officer, but keep in mind that member is also an option there to take minutes in the case of the secretary's absence at a meeting. Simplify Article 4 meetings, Section 4 minutes, to simply state that the minutes will be kept in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, similar to the statement in Article 4 meetings, Section 7, Open Meetings Law compliance. Alternatively, minutes could be added to Article 4 meetings, Section 7, Open Meetings Law compliance after all committee meetings, and Section 4 minutes in the same article could be removed completely. I also have a reference sheet for all of that for you as well. When we talked on Tuesday, we looked at the OMA handbook a lot, but not the actual law as much. And the handbook is very handy and quick. It's like a good Cliff Notes, but I have the actual data in here from the Open Meetings Act that's a little larger in chunkage, if you will. Is that a word, chunkage?
I don't think so.
Okay. Did I make that up? Look at me, creating and innovating. But that's all I have for you all. I have a copy for everybody. So the thought process is, I think it was Brian that mentioned like they need at least 10 days. I'm not asking for a vote today or even necessarily in February, but if a vote came up in February, you need to be able to be informed. So this is what we're doing right now. So I'm going to, hopefully I split those evenly enough. Let's see, maybe not. There you go. And one for Julie as well, please. I sent you one, but still, you can have a hard copy. So that's what I just read off to you just now. It's not necessarily for discussion or even for vote, but I want you all to be informed. And I don't want to leave you high and dry after people said nice things about me. They'll be like, you deal with it. I'm the chair, but goodbye. So I'm still going to continue having meetings with my fellow trustees, and we're going to still work through this. But I just wanted to bring you up to speed with where we're at with bylaws. We're working hard, and these two are working really hard too, not just me. So I just wanted to, and Julie, of course. So I just wanted to bring that up. That's your update.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other committee reports? Thanks for the handouts, too. That'll help to us to think about our nighttime reading once again, besides the book that we're going to be reading. So moving on then to matters for board action. One thing I want to mention, yes?
Just one other note with these is we've also found several parts in the bylaws that we have overridden in the last few years. From documented decisions made as early as July of 2021. So what happens is as we bring in, we've had a lot of talk about how we move in to new members, how we bring in new members and, and orientate them to the board's positions. Right now, the only way the new board members really get a feel for our bylaws is reading our bylaws, then going through up to 3 years of minutes to try to update our bylaws and reconcile them, because that's how we're actually running the board.
Okay, you've given us a lot to think about, and I know that the bylaws are important. We really need for them to be updated for sure. So I appreciate all your diligence in working on that, and let's get it cleaned up. I'm sure you'll do that. So, and we'll all vote in favor of it, right? No. Yep. Okay. Moving on to matters for library board action. Once again, I just want to thank everyone for coming to the meetings. I know it may seem to the audience and anybody else that might be, our huge audience that always watches our meetings. I'm sure that they think we just vote real quick on the budget and that there's really not a lot of effort put into it, but we have spent a great deal of time and we had a lot of valuable discussion at our budget meetings. A lot of suggestions came up too in ways that we can save some money and maybe make some money. There's things that we are going to be paying more attention to, I think, in the future. And I appreciate everything, and I especially appreciate Julie's very extensive narrative that she did for every one of the items, and then any question that came up, we got 3 more pages of narrative that explained it all. But, budgets aren't easy to understand, and everybody's budget is different. And the library budget is, while you may think all budgets have a lot of similarities, this library budget is pretty big and sometimes difficult to comprehend. So I appreciate the narrative for sure, and I think everybody else does. So with that being said, I will ask for a motion to approve the 2022-23 268 and 69 year-end budget first. So we have a motion. A second? Okay, Michener, Trustee Michener is a second. Okay, discussion. Anybody have anything to say about it? Trustee Bartlett.
I just wanted to put on the record some of the comments made in the budget session. If you look at the numbers, this is a very tough budget. It is a deficit budget. In the past few years, we have been operating under deficits, but we've kind of laid back into the fact that we were not at full employment, which we're pretty close to full employment at this point. We were not at full employment, so you're going to have budgeted salaries that are not paid. So hence, the end results look better than they actually are. But we've been hit with the cost of living increase that we're all facing. We've been hit with the salary increases. And what this is probably going to mean for the next year is we are going to be looking at, if there's a new proposal, we're going to be looking at what we can bring in, but what we can cut. Because as a board, we have no ability to raise money. We can only manage expenses. And that comment I made in the, I made that comment in the actual budget sessions, and I wanted to make that comment, to the general public. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
I just want
Member
to say I'm
Sturry.
going to support this motion to approve the budget, and also to emphasize and re-echo what President Crawford has said. I think for us board members, this is not only a great time for the board to look at all the numbers, but as we're looking at the numbers and we're looking at the line items, we ask questions about that. And quite frankly, for me, it's an educational process. I see this line item on here. What do we actually pay out of that? How do we pay with that? And so it is, although it's numbers, it really is, for me and I think the other board members, a very informative 2 or 3 meetings where we get a much better understanding of how they operate, how the library operates on a day-to-day basis, thanks to Director Farkas giving us this information and her staff. But I mean, I really think it's more than numbers. We understand how it operates better every time we go through one of these meetings.
Yeah. I also want to say that I think this board has always been enthused about new programs, and the director, of course, and staff are always enthused about doing new programs. But we realize, too, the reality is new programs cost money. There's always a lot that comes with that. And we have to be realistic sometimes about what we can expect of staff and also what new things we can add to what we're already doing. Sometimes, and in many corporations too, if you're going to do something new, you have to remove something else, So we have to take a hard look at it. None of us we don't want to think about cutting anything, but, we're going to be evaluating, and this library is always morphing. We're always changing. There's a rhythm to it that we seem to have, and we're always moving into, somehow we manage to just keep increasing programming and doing more things, but it means sometimes that staff and board members are going to have to look for maybe more patron support, maybe financial support and foundation where maybe, the discussion was made even, and I'll share that with the audience, that we talked about if we only had a person who actually could look at a foundation where perhaps we can capture some dollars. I mean, I hate to bring it up, but, somebody that's near death, like me, where our time is limited, that maybe people that are thinking even getting to the end of a tax year or something or other, we'd like to remind people that, a great place to look is the library. You've used the library your whole life, and don't you think there's a value to it? And if you do, how about leaving us something, don't wait till you're gone, actually, do it now. So, but it is hard because some staff person is going to have to do that work. And we haven't done much of that yet, but we're going to maybe take a look at that. That's one of the things that we discussed at great length. So more to come on that. Any other discussion?
Excuse me.
Now we're voting actually on the 22-23
President.
year budget. Yes.
I just want to echo everyone, what everyone said, and being the newbie here, it was an amazing educational session, going line by line on some of the things that, we wanted to ask more and more details. But I think it's a perfect discussion where we brainstormed and have all these ideas parked. We want to wait for the survey, get the data from the community, and then, with all these brainstormed ideas, we want to do the right thing for the library. So I'm really excited to see what's going to come up, especially with the finance as well as, the programming and everything else. So it was great.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, so we have a motion on the floor, we have a second, and I will ask the secretary to call the roll.
Trustee Stirring?
Yes.
Trustee Bartlett votes yes. Trustee Chair Curry?
Yes.
Trustee Crawford?
Yes.
Trustee Dooley?
Yes.
Trustee Garamurti?
Yes.
Trustee Mitchner?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. Our next motion then is to approve the 23, 24, 268, and 269 proposed budgets. And I'll ask for a motion. Member Stirring, you want to make that motion, right?
I'll move to approve the 223, 224, 268, and 269.
Okay, we have a
proposed budget.
second on this side of the table?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. A motion and a second, and now discussion then on the 23, 24. Anything new to say? Member Stirring?
Well, I'm gonna support this motion, and I would just like to add that these are lively discussions that we have at these budget meetings, and there's probably not everything in this budget that I would like in this budget, and there's probably not everything in the budget that the other trustees like in the budget. They're lively meetings, but I'm glad that we kind of reach a point where we can, I can't maybe say unanimously yet, but the majority of us can agree on this budget, even though we all have, preferences here or there, and we met a middle road, I think.
Yes.
And,
Member Chair Curry?
As you mentioned, we're heading into a period of deficits here. I feel fortunate that we're going to be having the results of the strategic plan. So we're going to be unusually well connected to our community at the time we have to start making tough decisions. And again, let that be an encouragement for people to fill out and make sure we know what you think. So.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes.
Thank you.
Member Dooley?
Thank you. I just really wanted to say that I appreciate the robust discussion that we did have, because it is definitely, I think I've been through 3 or 4 of these now, because I think when I first started, I got thrown right into one, and that was very eye-opening. But I've been to several now, and it's definitely a lot of learning and education and road mapping, because we do have one of the best libraries in the state. Yes, I am biased, but that does come with a cost. And we did go through that exercise of making sure that we were also competitive in our industry with regards to salary. So in order to do these expansions and to bring more amazing things to our community that they don't necessarily have exposure to, or we don't have those tools, it does come with that cost. I do appreciate, us kind of really being open-minded, though, and understanding financial priorities, that maybe things that we've done way back when might not be as relevant in terms of how we bring in certain funds into our budget now. So that discussion kind of took place, and it was really respectful and and awesome. I think everybody listened to each other. The other thing is, yes, we do operate on a deficit. We do have a fund balance, which I say savings account, but that's kind of what it is. We do have that. But the thing is, we did also talk about how we are going to have to look at how we spend to try to reduce the amount that we pull from the fund balance in our deficit. So what that also means is the public kind of has to understand how we actually do get our funding through taxes. And initially, what we put forth to get that funding was for the old building. And so we're kind of operating on the old building, even though we're amazing and awesome in our new building. And we're constantly operating with new programs, new services, new tools, but with the old building, kind of initial funding. But we're still great. Our budget's great. And the staff works really, really hard to get those services out to the community, no doubt. But there are going to be some big expenses coming up because our building is about 10 years old, 12 years old. So, those are going to hit us, and we have to prepare. And that's why President Crawford also mentioned that we really do need that public support and public encouragement, because this is your library. And yes, you already invest in it, but in order for us to sustain and grow, we just need that encouragement and support to keep going. So anything that you can think of to help us in that regard, we appreciate that. And definitely participate in the strategic plan. That is super important. So anybody watching this or anybody in the audience, please spread the word for us and get as much participation as possible so that we can make sure that the roadmap keeps going towards what our community wants and how we spend our money going forward. But that's what I wanted to say. So thank you, everybody.
Okay, I'm glad you brought up the fact that our budget, or the money that we have to operate the library, the current library, is based on the old library, which was a much smaller footprint with a much smaller collection and very few programs, really. And that's still the money that we're using. That same amount of money is the money that we're operating a large building with a lot of staff and also with a tremendous amount of programs. So it's a challenge for us, I mean, it certainly is going to continue to be a challenge, and we're going to be looking for creative ways that we can look, because so many of the library programs, you don't pay to come to a library program. There's no cost involved, and we don't want to do that kind of, we're not even thinking about anything like that. But so much of the services, and many of the public, I don't think realize, and I didn't really know this either, is that a lot of the new technology that comes to the library that we share with the public costs the library money. And Julie, maybe you can tell us again, like, in order for people to get books put into their Kindle or whatever, we pay for a service. The library pays for a service that actually allows people to do that, but we absorb that cost so that the public can get that service, and it's not cheap. It's not cheap.
You did
Julie,
a great job explaining it. I don't have to add anything. Nice job, President Crawford. Thank you. No, you are correct. A lot of the downloadable digital types of resources now that people are very much accustomed to do have a price tag to it. We do get consortium pricing and bundled pricing, things like that, but there is a cost to that. And sometimes the cost can be larger than what a normal book would cost, a print material. But you did a great job explaining it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Well, I'd really like for you all to get more speeding tickets as well, because we do get a cut from the speeding tickets that you all get. We do get something from the state police. So, if you're going to be traveling more, just keep us in mind,
And make sure it's Oakland County that you get the tickets.
We're not going to encourage reckless driving, but, we don't want to ever lose that little bit of money that, we don't want to lose that. For sure. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Just a really quick point.
Sure.
Everything you said made sense. I wanted to throw out another solution idea is the friends. They help us a lot. So some of the technology you mentioned that costs us a lot of money, sometimes they take it off their wish list and take care of us. So that's another way that our community can support.
They are very generous.
They are very
with us.
generous. We do appreciate them.
And in case you don't know, all of you know that the bookstore that is at the library is operated by the Friends, and they do get a lot of money from people buying books and recycling books and that kind of thing. So we appreciate all the donations that the public makes to the library, because that really helps to fill the shelves of the bookstore, which is money that comes to the Friends, and then they in turn donate it to us based on our wish list that Julie turns into them. So that's
Donations first go to
thousands of dollars. What was the total?
They were close
so
to
far?
30,000 last year, but they're close to $1 million. I mean, they are
Close to $1 million?
They have over the years,
Yeah.
over the number of years that they've been around. Sue gave a number when she was here, because I know she's only been tracking it for maybe close to 10 years, but I think was it over 700,000 or something? I think that was her number.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
so
amazing.
yeah.
And used books and other
Absolutely.
materials. So.
When donations are made, the library first looks at them. I just want to be clear, because I don't want everyone to think that when we get donations, they're just going straight out the door. But the library does look at them first to put in our collection, and then what we don't keep, we go ahead and it turns over to the Friends for their used bookstore, and then goes from there. So I do appreciate that. That was a great plug.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Trustee Chair Curry?
Yes.
Trustee Crawford?
Yes.
Trustee Dooley?
Yes.
Trustee Gurmurty?
Yes.
Trustee Mitchner?
Yes.
Trustee Stirring?
Yes.
Trustee Bartlett votes yes. Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And our third and last motion here is to approve the 24-25 and 25-26 268 projected budget. And I'm just going to remind everybody, and maybe the audience as well, is this is, we're looking into the future without even all of the information from our strategic plan and where we've already set goals and objectives for the library. This is our guideline. I mean, we're focused, we're making up a budget for a future that we don't really know everything, and because our building is getting older, things can go wrong with our building. You know, we need a new roof, or, you know, things just like your own home budget. We have those kind of things to deal with the library, and especially with the number of people, the patrons that are coming to the library, which of course we want. You know, it's wear and tear. I mean, you don't think about that we have to replace furniture from time to time, and we have to replace carpet, and so there's some of the little things, you know, even signs that we need to put up, you know, to make, I don't know if any of you have noticed going to the library, some of the new signs that are by the elevator that are in a number of other languages. You know, all of that is part of our goal, that we can make sure that we're welcoming all people, and so they understand how to use the elevator or whatever. So there's lots of things that do cost money that you may not think about. So this is the guideline. This is what we're projecting. And so without any further discussion about it, I'll just ask I'll ask for a motion to approve.
I move we approve the projected budgets for 25 and
24,
25,
26. Okay,
Second.
okay. And I have a second. Any discussion about this? Okay, very good. Then please call the roll.
Trustee Crawford?
Yes.
Trustee Dooley?
Yes.
Trustee Gurmurty?
Yes.
Trustee Mitchner?
Yes.
Trustee Stirring?
Yes.
Trustee Bartlett votes yes. Trustee Chair Curry?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, very good. Then we're going to, we will be going into a closed session and we won't be returning. So one thing I want to remind everyone is that there are going to be a number of meetings. There's going to be 4 meetings coming up that are giving us feedback, you know, in-person meetings. 2 of them are going to be in person starting February 7th. And then there's going to be 2 meetings that are going to be virtual meetings. So even if you don't have a chance to come to the meeting, you can virtually tune in and maybe even participate in that discussion. And this has to do with the strategic plan. So there's lots of opportunities here for you to give your input. And I hope that you will all do that, that you will make sure that you do that. Yes? Do we have to? Oh, yes.
After the closed session, you terminate your closed session and you come back here.
Oh, we still are going to come back.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's the way it is on your agenda.
Okay. Okay, then. That's what we'll do. We will come back, but we'll come back just for a moment, you know, and I don't think anybody's going to want to stay around for that, but certainly you're welcome to sit there, you know, if you would like. But we're going to entertain a motion then to, yes, you have a question?
I just have one comment on the future events, which isn't on here. I think it's the 9th, is our official board meeting for the strategic plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is the 9th, correct? Because it's not on our future events.
Right?
Oh, it's your board meeting.
We have the board meeting on the 16th,
Yes.
and then we have the afternoon meeting with the strategic folks on the 9th. That is the board, that's the entire board meeting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's also,
that's the
we
one that's
also need to,
critical.
you know, while we still have because the public may not be staying here while we're in our closed session. So the public should know as well that we have a meeting of it.
What time is that, Brian?
It's just, it's a luncheon meeting.
It's February 9th, 11:30 to 1:30.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Well, that's going to be an important meeting for sure.
And
All of them
it
are
will be
important.
posted. It will be posted, it has to be posted 2 days before, yes.
Okay. Anyway, I'm going to entertain a motion to go into closed session, which we will be discussing the mid-year review for our director. And who wants to make that motion?
I'll
Okay.
move, I'll make the
Member
motion.
Stirring, second. Member Bartlett, any discussion? Okay, seeing none, call the roll.
Trustee Dooley,
Yes.
trustee Gurmurty,
Yes.
trustee Mitchner,
Yes.
trustee Stirring,
Yes.
trustee Bartlett votes yes, trustee Chair Curry,
Yes.
trustee Crawford.
Yes. Okay, onward and upward. We shall return. Hey, everybody's back. All right, I'll entertain a motion now to adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
Mara?
Thank you.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Commissioner?
I
Second, on the side of the room? Oh, okay. I try to look both sides. So all right. Okay, any discussion about adjourning? You want to talk about it? No, guess not. Okay. No. Okay, please call the roll.
Trustee Crawford,
Yes.
trustee Dooley,
Yes.
trustee Garamurti,
Yes.
trustee Mitchner,
Yes.
trustee Stirring, trustee Bartlett votes yes, trustee Chair Curry. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Okay, it's been real.